first became aware of the art scene in Los Angeles was the late 80s, and back then Los Angeles still wasn't getting the kind of recognition that I think even then it may have deserved in terms of the quality of art that was coming out of it. I think it was, eclipsed by places like New York and other places in Europe.
Things get flat, and I think that's why people are relocating to Los Angeles, because it's almost like new territory, new ground, and not only in the visual arts, but in music and fashion and performance. It's really exciting to be here.
You can see great art here every time, but before the whole hippifying or coolness of downtown, it was just businesses. It was businesses and government buildings.
When I first came on the scene, so to speak, everybody would just embrace you. Like, all of the artists would be like, oh, a new model. It was so rare to come by, because at that time not everybody was doing this. This was something that was more, it was still hidden.
I mean, not just the art scene. LA has changed. There was this mass exodus from New York. A lot of people leaving New York and coming to Los Angeles. So it seemed like there was this mass exodus from New York to Los Angeles.
My relationship to downtown extends to childhood. So these are very, very familiar streets for me, and to be a part of the change that's happening now is really a great feeling. And there's no place I'd rather be in the world than here.
When I first came out, I was going to school. It was a very different fine art sort of atmosphere. Initially, there would be nowhere for me to show. There would be no gallery where I could show a girl fighting a tiger. It was unheard of. No one showed work like that. And in a very short amount of time, it's very much changed for the better.
When I first started modeling in Los Angeles, through relationships with the other models, we took over and started using what we knew worked. So we were mixing the art with the party and just being crazy.
When you're seeing the art scene and the scene in general change in Los Angeles, you're getting a lot of people coming here for the character that they were missing elsewhere. Because regardless of whether you like LA or not, and a lot of people live here and don't necessarily like it, but there's a lot of character here.
People come here to be actors or photographers, or they go to the animation schools or art schools. It's a place to be if you want to be an artist of any kind, from burlesque to modeling to painting to sculpting. There are amazing instructors and opportunities.
From the cultural diversity to just kind of the history and the stories behind everything. And just going into all these little neighborhoods that do kind of have that character and that grit that as artists we love. It's kind of what fuels us. We like texture. We like feeling things, that tactile nature that we have.
We haven't really been taken that seriously in terms of fine art. I think that's changing. I think that Los Angeles is actually being understood as a truly formidable city for fine art. And I think the community that's been created through what we do has had a role to play in that. I think that now that's changing. I think it's really fantastic that we're finally starting to come out from behind the shadow of Hollywood. But in terms of the fine art world, I think we weren't really getting the kind of credit that LA was due, and it's beautiful to see that we now are.
Art in LA is fantastic right now. You have so many good artists in so many different genres doing so many different things. And although you have a really established gallery scene and you have a really established art community, it doesn't feel stale and old and like there's no way to get in. And I think because of that, and because you have so many, you know, New York is great, but it just feels very hard to break into. Like, you have to be established to show at a gallery in Chelsea. Why? Why don't you want to see something new, something a little unfinished and raw, you know, that's not done by somebody who's already done 4 of their own shows? And LA, I think, is open to that, not just in the gallery scene, but you've got all these street artists and you've got all these pop-up things. You know, you have art shows in Frogtown showing people I've never heard of, and some of them suck, but look, they're putting it out there. You know, sometimes you just gotta do that, and I think LA is really doing that right now. There's so many cool things coming up. There's so many different ideas, and I constantly go to art shows and feel inspired and go, oh my God, if I could only do that. Or, you know, there's all these lowbrow art shows in LA too that like you go to and you're like, well, that piece was good and that piece was good, and the rest of these people obviously were just drinking. So it's so fun. It's so fun to see, and I'm very excited to be here. I feel like there's just so much inspiration. It can't help but blow up and do wonderful things here.
In Los Angeles specifically, the art world has changed hugely in the time I've been active in it.
The more that word gets around, the better it is, but I do like the nature of a well-kept secret in LA, because eventually everything kind of blows up.
The very spirit of the West is the spirit of adventure. So it's completely appropriate that our kind of basic instinct out here is to explore. I feel that art's undergoing a huge renaissance here in Los Angeles and getting the attention that it never got before.
I always feel like the best things about Los Angeles are like 5 layers deep that you have to sort of peel back and go behind 6 different curtains and a secret passage. And that's where you find like the heart of Los Angeles, and that's where you find the things that are valuable because the things that are on the surface tend to be pretty shitty. But Los Angeles has in its layers and in its core, I think you can find whatever you want here. And that's one of the magical things about this place. It's like its most valuable assets are its secrets. You can just open this door and see this entire fucking world you had no idea was behind a warehouse door in like the produce packing district of downtown Los Angeles.
I mean, if you're going to be good, you're not just doing it for the money. Yes, we need money and we need to make a living, but the scale, it starts from here to there, you know. I'll still work for here because it's about integrity. You can't work like that. You have to give to get.
And none of us got into being artists to go to work. Like, we got into art because you wanted to make your world different. You wanted to make your world either more beautiful or interesting, or you wanted to escape the world that you were in at the time, and so you turned to a blank piece of paper. But as a professional, you sit all day and you use your craft to make $1, but that's not really satisfying, and it's certainly not much fun. So going to Drink and Draw or any of the other Gallery Girl events is putting that wonder back into drawing. Like, it's putting the joy back into it.
Turkish Delights, for instance, takes a lot of time and prep work, so I only do 2 of those a year now. If I get 300 people coming to it, then okay, I'm making some good money. But if only 100 people come, that doesn't even cover the expenses.
You're expected to tip or give your $10. They're usually really cool. Like, if you're like, I am broke, I have no job, they're like, get us next time. But usually only if you know them, because they're not there to just do it for free every night. It's really hard work that they do.
When you talk about art and you talk about money, it's a very hard conversation to have, because of course we all know that artists tend to be poor. So there's something missing in our society that doesn't give creativity enough support. I think now that we're entering into the technology era, people are starting to repeat everything. There's the loss of originality, there's a loss of just finding something within yourself that you want to express, because there's the fear that it won't equal a paycheck. And yet I meet artists that have nothing and seem very happy and satisfied in life because they're doing what they love.
What I was trying to communicate with the music. So we've had themes like Midsummer Night's Dream, Ancient Egypt, vampires, you know, depending on who was sort of like guns, and I didn't really know I was going to pull that off. I mean, there's plenty of songs about guns, not a ton, and it ended up being one of my favorite couple months anyhow, because and then just kind of alternating songs about violence, and then I ended up finding songs that were literally for God, you know, like, which were perfect, you know. Other themes that we've had, we had one that was like Call of Duty, and so actually I used speeches from history that were recorded like as samples, like justifying the entering of into combat, for example. And so the movements were broken up like iodines, and created a playlist for each. Hades was a zeitgeist. Hades was a moment of just unbelievable, unforgettable, inspired, passionate giving back. Every Tuesday night we would meet and stay out till 5 in the morning and drink and draw and sculpt and paint and fuck and fight and come out of it transformed.
The atmosphere is amazing. You know, we recreated something that hadn't been, I mean, that everybody was dying for. We were all dying inside, missing our people and wanting to be a part of something. And that's what this became. You know, it was just undescribable. You had to be there, you know?
And then we moved because like Pasadena Vice started showing up, because there were girls in various stages of undress and alcohol, and it didn't matter that everybody was holding pencils and pads of paper. Like, I guess that was just against the law, so we were asked to shutter it up. We didn't promote this event. It was just bring some art making material and, you know, buy a couple drinks at our speakeasy bar so that we can keep doing this. At its core, I remember talking to Sarah about it, about giving back to the artists. You know, they create this work, and it was never about like trying to monetize anything. We didn't promote it. It was all word of mouth. There was no Facebook group or internet presence at all. There was no mailing list. There was like, you just knew or you didn't know. It fulfilled, I think, an amazing sort of mission in bringing people together, bringing creative people together in the spirit of the classic salon, to exchange ideas, to revel in creativity, to celebrate the muse, to create art, to make something happen, to meet people, to have discussions, to change something, you know, to change yourself, to change the world. Like, and these things all happened. I remember the last one that we had, it was a circus theme, and I'd been expanding on this circus playlist for years, and I felt like I was just hitting it, like it was just crushing it, and it was perfect. And then some friends just had invited some aerialists, so we had some aerialists on aerial silks, and there were 250 to 300 people there. We didn't know how got there because word had just gotten around. And then a fucking marching band came through and started playing while someone was spitting fire.
It was like pulling magic. Like, I mean, it was extraordinary. It was lightning in a bottle.
And I looked around and I said, this is it. It's never getting any better than this. It's gonna stop soon. Like, I felt like this is its swan song because it was just so overwhelming. And within 1 month we were done. That was it. There was no more Hades.
You know, to be honest, this is my first Delights event, but it's music, food, dancing, and of course models and artists, and that's about all I know, so we'll see how it goes tonight.
Yeah, it's not just a drawing workshop with art models. It's a drawing workshop with multiple art models, multiple stages, live music, a DJ, belly dancers, and then all the other experience, the henna, the drinks, the Turkish coffee, the food. People come dressed up. There are some people just come to have the experience or to be around artists, because artists are amazing people.
You know, for the first time you just think they're staring at you. They're just staring at you. But no, they're artists. They're waiting for you to pose so they can draw you. And then I skated around and I looked at all of their work, and it was amazing. And I was like, wow, I can be a part of this art.
The Gallery Girls really is like the glue that kind of ties us all together. I mean, like, all really met because of this kind of scene, this collective of...
Yeah, it is kind of the glue. It's these friends and this life became my life, and then where I've done the most incredible things that I would have never imagined doing. It's all because of all of this that came together, you know.
When you do something interactive, the energy builds. You can have a real strong energy just, you know, one-on-one with an artist and a model, but imagine that energy times 50 or 100. You know, it just becomes this really crazy, exciting feeling. I guess it's almost like a high that you always want to have that. It's probably why so many people, once they get into it, stay.
You know, the whole point of these salons is to inspire people's imaginations. And that's the foundation of everything that we're doing, is to just create an immersive world as much as we can.
Imagine a room full of creative, you know, world-changing, inspiring people all together, and you have this energy that's in the room already. People would ask me all the time, how do you come up with ideas? I'm like, how do you not? They're just, one thing will trigger like 5, 10 more ideas of what you can do.
You know, from time to time, artists will ask me, and I know they've asked other models as well, like, what goes on, like, in your brain? What are you thinking about? And you know, the dialogue, the inner dialogue is different every moment, and anything that I'm giving them, hopefully they can interpret it into something useful for themselves, you know.
Art is about feeling, so you have to feel something about the subject. That subject has to bring something out in you, and not easy to find a muse, I guess. It's a rare thing. I don't think every artist has a muse necessarily. I think they'd like to, but something you maybe even chase after or hope magically appears one day. Going to a Gallery Girls event really takes my work to another level. So having that inspiration has helped me really improve on so many levels.
I'm there for them. I'm not there for me. You know, we're giving ourselves. We're not, it's like the beauty that is within, or even the ugliness that's within. You're talking about what's the difference between an artist model and a muse. I want to be an inspiration to everyone around me. As many people as I can, even if it's a stranger, my family, you know, my friends. I want to inspire my friends to do better and to do what they want to do, you know, to believe in themselves. And I think a muse is somebody who brings out, you know, that confidence in the person, you know, who's trying to create something. You know, it's not easy to create and then to put it out to the world. You know, it takes a lot of chutzpah.
When you go to these events, you get inspired to draw different things and what you're used to, and you can explore a little bit more, which I feel is really important.
No matter where you are at, whether you're in a classroom with students or whether you're with an individual artist, there's a collaboration. But a model is an inspirer. They're inspiring the artist.
I've certainly really relied on the Muse energy to do the things that I've done creatively in my life, and even non-creatively. Like, it's sort of raw inspiration, and I tend to seek it out personally in people.
There's this energy between the two of you, whether you know it or not. It's there. If you're keen to it, you can feel it. It's pretty amazing. I tell people, just come.
With regards to being like naked for the first time, I think I was 19, and the old man, Sorthian, brought me up to the ranch and served me wine. Got me drunk. I was very young. That first time, he just wanted to see what my body looked like. So we were in his studio, and I got undressed, and he looked, and he liked what he saw. I really do this for the artists. They want me to do it. They ask me to do it. They come. I really love creating this environment for them and seeing the outcome of what comes out of it.
Yeah, it's not just a drawing workshop with art models. It's a drawing workshop with multiple art models, multiple stages, live music, a DJ, belly dancers, and then all the other experience, the henna, the drinks, the Turkish coffee, the food. People come dressed up, or some people just come to have the experience or to be around artists, because artists are amazing people. Almost missed it. Dun, dun, dun.
So do you ever worry that it won't have the synergy or the magic that I've seen and experienced?
Of course, I always worry that it won't have the energy, it won't have the synergy, especially if the people don't come. If I don't get all the people to come, then the energy won't be as impactful or great or big as it is. But I'm not worried today. Like, we have about 50 people prepaid already, and I've got so many other people that said that they're coming and they're bringing people, so we should have a good amount of people today.
Turkish Delights is the big event that I do now. The production value is great. I mean, there's so many models and belly dancers and live music, and the artists really take to it. And I've toyed with what to call it for a long time because it's something new. It's not a workshop. It's a little more than a salon. It's closer to a speakeasy, but a speakeasy, you think of, people drinking, but it's not that. It's everything. is definitely empowering, especially when it comes to nudity. You have to get comfortable with your body. You know, especially women, we always have some sort of, I don't like my legs or my butt or whatever it is, my tummy. We have to, at some point, kind of come to grips with it and own it. Well, it's pretty easy to say what I enjoy about modeling. It's the creativity, the exchange between the artist and the model. To be a really good model, you can see what's needed and wanted and deliver. Some models can get it like that, and you know, like I said, the it models. When one comes, they have a look, they have an essence, they can really give off a real creative vibe that the artist can really grab onto and create some really amazing work from. You don't have to be a fashion model. You can be fat, thin, tall, short. A muse is a person that, in the technical dictionary, is a female. But in my definition, it's male or female. And it is somebody who can really create this energy that the artist can pick up on. It could be sexual. Not saying that they're necessarily having sex or not, but you have that sexual tension. The artist likes women, okay? So they're going to feel something from that and hopefully be able to create that energy and put it onto the canvas. And then you're going to see that when you see that picture from years on out. It could be death, it could be horror, whatever it is that they're getting from that. Making a good pose has to do with the lines, the twists and turns. I like to do a lot of extreme angles, like your shoulders over here and your hips over here, or twists where your shoulders are here and your hips are way back there. A lot of artists love standing poses because the angles are really long, and you know, you can show your legs and your torso really long. Most people say modeling is easy. It's not. It's not easy. I've seen art models just sit there, and they're obviously just there for the money. They're not there to create anything with anybody. And that's really what a muse does. A muse really helps inspire and create the art with the artist. Whether the artist knows it or not, or realizes it or not, that is what a muse is doing. Art is important because it's part of life. If there was no art, there would be a lot of things missing in this world. I mean, we get art in everything. I mean, it's everywhere around us. It's part of everything. Art's how you communicate. Yeah, I can't imagine life without art.
I was born an artist. It's just something that I was born to do. I mean, I not only see making art for a living, but obviously I see living as art.
We're at the corner of 5th and Hill Streets in the heart of downtown Los Angeles, and I'm currently painting the largest mural in the world by a single artist. This mural came about over the last 4 years. It's really an allegory of the city and a celebration of its diversity, and really sends a message of inclusivity. This mural is one that I think will, instill some pride in Angelenos and celebrate just the cultural diversity that we have here. I designed it based on the way the sunlight and shadows hit this wall one day of the year. So there's a topical mural that you're going to see year-round, but then one day out of the year, February 9th, it really highlights this sub-narrative that takes place, and you get to follow the timeline throughout the day as the shadows hit the wall.
I feel that we're living in the creative golden age in Los Angeles. It's really a great time to be here. To me, it's Paris in the 20s. It's New York in the early 80s. And being born and raised here, it means a lot to kind of help. I feel a bit parental about how things are shaping here, and I believe as an artist we have the ability to shape the way a city's history is written.
Because it's my home, it's where I'm from, so I feel a bit, like I said, a bit parental about it. Obviously, I have a different take on downtown than someone who's not from here, so my connection to the city is really huge when it comes to the imagery that I'm putting on, how it relates to the people that have to live with the mural once I'm done with it. I think it's important as an artist to really understand that, and not just kind of create your own image that's disconnected with the community, but actually, it's important to engage with the community, because the piece that you're leaving behind, they're the ones who have to live with it. So I think the imagery should reflect that.
Any way that I can contribute to the cultural life in the city is a good thing. Not only advance my work, but advance the perception of work in Los Angeles.
So the anchoring image for this mural is a Native American Tongva Indian girl. And the Tongva Indians are the original natives to inhabit the LA Basin. So this little girl is facing west, and she's got this really elaborate headdress on with this interesting metallic gold design on it. And then just above her are 3 angels that kind of soar above the city there. And the angel on the left is a representative of the homeless community that I befriended here at this intersection. I thought this would be a great opportunity to shed some light on the homeless here in downtown, and the need to find some sort of solution for the epidemic here. And also, someone who doesn't have hope can be the face of hope in this mural.
I've shown in every gallery here in downtown, but I feel that I'm best able to connect and have this dialogue within the community is when I paint right on the street and turn the street into my studio. I'm always interested in connecting with the locals wherever my art is, not just the people going through, but also just the people that inhabit the area. It's a very intimate, powerful exchange that happens. When I create a large public piece of work, I make the community just as much a part of the process as I am.
When I woke up this morning, I thought I was gonna come see a mural being painted, and then I was gonna have lunch and I was gonna go home. Definitely, I did not expect it to be part of the whole process of it. I feel very honored and flattered.
My commentary is dealing with the everyday person. When I paint a mural and the person I'm painting I just met 10 minutes before I put them up, that's my way of turning the anonymous working class into this monumental hero. these are very, very familiar streets for me, and to be a part of the change that's happening now for the better is really a great feeling. And there's no place I'd rather be in the world than here.
Dave Johnson and I, with Jeff Johnson, we're all meeting new artists. A lot of comic book guys just will sit in our little desks, very sad, all alone, in the dark, except for our little light over our head, and draw. And it's a very solitary life. And Dave was like, we gotta get out. We gotta, meet some people. And I was married, but Dave was single, and he noticed we'd been out drawing before at different bars or taverns, and people are always curious. So they'll come over and go, oh, what are you up to? Oh, could you draw me? And it's a great icebreaker. And Dave was like, well, we gotta make this into a regular thing, and your wife's not gonna mind. You'll come home with drawings. It's not like you're just out drinking with the boys. And Drink and Draw was something we started that it was a way for all these artists to get together. My first memory of drawing is because my father would come home every day after work, and he'd have another page of a Batman comic book. It was kind of like a coloring book comic book he would draw. He'd write a story and draw it. So I would try to emulate him, and I wanted to draw, and I would sit there and draw sharks, or in some cases like this frontier guy with a little cap and mountains behind him and a canoe. He could do everything. My occupation currently is graphic novelist. Now it's a comic book artist, but I draw graphic novels, I draw comic books. I've drawn comic books like the X-Men, Spider-Man, Captain America, the Hulk, Green Lantern, X-Factor, X-Force, any X involved.
We started drawing together decades ago, but even though we live in the same city and we're friends, we hardly ever saw each other. So we came up with a way to every week go to a bar and draw and hang out and make it seem like we were working.
Well, I think from Dave's perspective, he was like, I need to get out a little bit more. We're all very, we work by ourselves. And if you're not in a studio environment, you're not surrounded by anyone. He goes, I need to get out. You get to see everybody else's artwork. So you leave inspired and excited about doing work. And honestly, it's an excuse to be human.
And that's Drink and Draw. And the Drink and Draw idea, the Drink and Draw Social Club, has now several chapters throughout the country. I think we're up in the 50s and 60s, maybe even 100 different chapters. And they're as far-flung as Ireland and Paris, and I think there's one in Toronto and one in New York. So the idea of pretending to be working in a bar and drawing is caught on.
Another reason we started was we're always drawing something for somebody, a client, or working based on a script. So this is a chance to just be a kid again and draw when you feel like drawing. So today I drew a rabbit samurai attacking like a crazy dragon monster for a Stan Sakai benefit. And I think Dave is working on something similar. People started gravitating towards this. Other artists started talking about it. We've got these guys from everywhere, from animation, from storyboarding to film design, toy design, and one of the guys told us there's these things where these girls will be naked and you can draw them, and they serve wine, and there's great music, and it's kind of a beatnik sort of scene, and I'm like, wow, Drink and Draw sounds good, but this sounds really amazing. Wow, and I've never drawn, I'd gone to like one or two life drawing things, and it's nothing like that. There's no, you're not drinking a beer, and he goes, these girls are gorgeous, and sometimes they're in costumes, and it's amazing. So I thought, this sounds great. So I dragged Jeff Johnson with me, and we meet this other guy there. And I think later on we convinced Dave, we regaled him with stories, and we're like, Dave, you gotta check this out. And he came, and it was just amazing.
So this used to be no man's land until Dave moved in.
We did fix it. How did we first discover King Eddie's? It was
It had to be Johnny V.
Because he was working at Falcon, right?
Yeah, he was working at Falcon, and then he got interested in the place, and I think they were, what are they, going through different owners? They were going to close it down, and they essentially bought the license. I don't know if they own the building or what it is, but they wanted to keep it alive.
Did Johnny V call you and ask us to do stuff?
He said, wouldn't that be great? You know, he used to be the GM at Falcon,
right?
While we were all doing the drink and draw over there, and he goes, "What if you kind of drew some cool stuff based on all the colorful characters that came in there, like Bukowski and Burroughs, and who else, Jeff?
Bukowski and Burroughs and Dave. You did one of the guy who used to own the place, right?
John Fonte definitely used to drink there because he wrote about it in his books.
But you also drew the manager, right?
Oh yeah,
kind of immortalized him, put a tear in his eye.
Yeah, no, it was cool. Well, the original owners just kind of let him go without any fanfare.
Was the guy like working there 40 years? Or?
Yeah, 40 years.
Was he living in the hotel upstairs?
He was living in the hotel next door.
Yeah.
They just kind of let him go. It's not even a gold, not even a gold shot glass.
Do you remember when we were downstairs working on the pictures, the various pieces, the big pieces, and we cleaned up the mural downstairs?
Oh yeah.
And it just popped out of nowhere. Oh, that thing was amazing. So much nasty gunk on the wall.
That's 40 years of nicotine.
It could be even longer. I mean, because that was the speakeasy back in the days of Prohibition. So that was probably painted back then.
Well, it was definitely painted in the 20s.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why would you paint a bobber top?
Yeah.
With a bobber helmet on.
So yeah, we ended up painting in the old speakeasy. It's kind of nice.
I would like to get a picture of that.
Not the greatest light in the
world
down there.
Also, the electricity was a little bit shaky.
Yeah, faulty. I think we helped with some renovations by accident by ripping electrical wires.
Tonight's the Gallery Girls thing, right?
Yeah, the Gallery Girls are doing it's free.
But the environment's good, the lighting's good?
Yeah, the lighting's pretty good. It's a packed crowd, which is nice, and the bar itself has that kind of macabre sort of feel.
Oh, excellent.
That lends itself to. I think when you start doing them in the galleries, they don't have the same appeal that you and I remember.
They can't be as gritty. They can't be as just generally foolish.
Yeah,
right? Like there's a whole.
Yeah, that was a great experience. I remember just going down to those things constantly, and that was the one thing I kept looking forward to. I'm like, man, I wish this was.
I do miss those.
Yeah, those some good times.
I don't know. It seems pretty romanticized back then.
I think everything is in the past.
That's
Even
true.
the way we probably think about those Gallery Girls things, if we went back now, we're like, huh.
No, I think those were awesome.
Yeah, those were good.
Those were really good.
Agreed.
I don't know who that is.
It's a whole crew that wants to get into King Eddie's, possibly to see the artwork. I think that's the whole driving force of the neighborhood. Perfect timing.
Yeah, well done.
They just got a new sign.
Oh, that looks great.
I know.
Is that
that
the guy
pretty?
who painted this one?
I think it's the same guy who did the tattoo.
Ready? All right.
After you, sir.
Lead the way, my friend.
On our way.
So that's the...
Yeah, this is Bill Roller, the old manager of King Eddie's for many, many years before it changed hands. Yeah, when I heard about him, he seemed like a really cool dude. And when the old owners of the bar let him go, they just kind of unceremoniously just said, "You're out.
We're done with you."
Not even a gold shot glass to see him on his way. So I did this portrait. I thought it'd be kind of cool. And when they reopened the bar, he actually came in and saw it.
Yeah, all this stuff was painted in the basement where they had the Prohibition thing.
Yeah, I just, when I did it, I just wanted to draw a guy, kind of look like maybe an old patron of King Eddie's.
Or criminal.
Or a criminal. Kind of looks like Derringer a little bit, but kind of a little bit based on a real person, and kind of more just kind of took from there and just made it weird. And then over here is John Fonte, who famous writer, and you know, there's still some debate on whether or not Bukowski actually drank here or not, but John Fonte actually wrote about this place in one of his books, so there's definite, you know, history, you know, with him in this bar. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to draw, you know, and paint him. The bar owner asked, he's a friend of ours, and I was like, yeah, that sounds like a badass plan. Let's do this, you know. So didn't get paid for it, but you know.
I met him at Falcon in Hollywood. This bar I used to run. It's a bar and lounge in Hollywood, and they were doing a thing. They were doing drink and draw there. A friend of mine, Stephen Allen, and brought him in, and we just got to know them through that process. And when I moved downtown and opened this bar, I reconnected. I think I reached out to Dan initially and said, hey, you know, we're taking over this interesting bar that's been down here for 100 years, legally or illegally, and then opened since 1933. And I really like the idea of maybe doing some fresh artwork that kind of plays to downtown dive bar meets pulp meets literary. And they were like, we're in. So he came over, Dan and Dave, and brought some other guys over, and Jeff, and they just kind of got a sense of the place and ended up delivering these really amazing pieces of artwork to me, and I couldn't be happier and more thankful that they did it. I was very lucky. The things that they did them on too were just scrap pieces of wood that I had downstairs. With the exception of a couple of canvases, these other panels were just pieces of 1 foot by 4 foot wood panels that I just had laying around, and they just went to town on it, so it was great. I think that it's just, you know, I love the idea of utilizing the sense of downtown Los Angeles and people that have been here and the history of the place. I used to teach history in middle school, and so it means a lot to me. The history of this place means a lot to me. The downtown art scene is something that's overlooked by a lot of people, but there's a real presence here, a real pulse. And I think it's starting to get a little more notoriety, certainly. And, you know, this was kind of unintentional, really. People come in now and they bring people in and go, you got to see the art at King Eddie, even though we don't have a ton of it, but it really resonates with people. And some people actually even recognize the artists. There's a lot of comic book fanatics that come in. They're like, that looks really familiar. Did, you know, Dan Panosian do that one, or so and so? And I'm like, as a matter of fact, yeah. And they always ask about it, and I tell them about Drink and Draw, and some people don't know about that, so they go pop by, and amateur and pro artists alike. So, you know, I think it's important to. We want to be a part of like the downtown art scene a little bit without being, I don't want to be a gallery, we're a bar, but to have representatives that are represented downtown art scene and local artists, I'm all for it. So it's great. Yeah, I think a lot of people, a lot of artists move down here specifically to be a part of it, and there's some really talented people down here that I've gotten to know. I certainly don't know everybody, but I've gotten to know some really great people. My friend, we call him Downtown Daniel. Some of the artwork on the side of the building is this kid. He grew up on the street and become a street artist. Now, and I hired him to do the King Eddie artwork on the side of the building. And ever since that, he did the tattoo parlor across the street and did their work. And now he's doing like the signs of buildings, and he's been written up in magazines. So it's this really interesting grassroots quality to down here. There's local artists and people that move in from, you know, other parts of the country just to be a part of what's happening down here on every level. So it's fun to be in the midst of it, and also to be a part of this renaissance, I guess you would call it, and it's happening in downtown, specifically in this area right here on 5th Street, which has gone through a really crazy change over the last year, where it was a pretty scary place for a lot of people, and now it's a lot more palatable than it used to be. Even in a year. So it's fun to be a part of that transition.
Last question.
Yeah.
Can you give us a little history about this project?
Sure, yeah. Well, it's part of the King Edward Hotel, and the hotel was built in 1906, and it was a really kind of elevated hotel at the time. They used to pick up customers and guests at the train station in their own carriages, and they'd bring them over, and everybody was very, you know, dressed really nice, and it was a beautiful hotel. And the saloon itself was part of that hotel from that time. It was actually half the bar. If you look over here where these columns are, that's where there used to be a wall there. So it was just half a bar. It was just this half. The other side used to be a variety of things. Among other things, it was a barber shop. And then sometime in the 60s, it became, the owner decided to rent out the other side, and he expanded the bar. So it was operating as a saloon up until the beginning of Prohibition. And then when Prohibition hit, obviously all bars closed down legally. So they did too, and it became a piano store up here. And once they did that, they opened up an illegal speakeasy in the basement. And they operated that throughout the remainder of Prohibition. And they would have a secret knock to come in, and they'd come in off a door over on this Los Angeles side of the street and walk downstairs, and there's a little coat check area and a lot of beautiful murals still down there, which I hope you guys take a look at, that are still there and we hope to keep. And so that happened throughout Prohibition, and then when Prohibition ended, they closed the speakeasy and they reopened the bar upstairs, and it's been King Eddie's Saloon ever since. So you get past and present have come in here to have a drink. A lot of artists come in with their pad and paper and they do drawings, and so it's fun to see that.
Well, I'm an overachiever when it comes to drinking and painting, apparently.
It's based on a bunch of different Bukowski quotes. I was basically just trying to get the feeling of what it's like to be a heroin addict, drunk poet during that time. I think I caught it.
Similar to being an artist.
Yeah.
There's no real story behind that one. That one's just, I just drew Bukowski, so. And he's like a angry, disgruntled gentleman. And then Dave did this one. There's a funny little story about this one, though.
Yeah, that one's, I don't know if you guys know, but that's actually a personal ad profile pic. And she didn't write back, so I used her photo instead. So I'm waiting. One day she's gonna walk into this bar and freak the fuck out when she sees this. So serves her right.
Yeah.
Serves her right.
Got some other ones over here. The same thing. Again, sadly I timed myself as a half hour for each one, so that's what you get. And then Jeff did this one. That one came out beautiful.
So once again, I tried to capture the feeling of his poems, which is they're inspiring yet heartbreaking at the same time. So I wanted to have a dirty, stained, kind of mistaken feel to them. Did you guys know that these were like original pieces of art, or did you think they were just photocopies of stuff?
No, original.
We actually discussed it. We actually know it's our work.
Oh,
we legitimately
I liked it.
I don't know the shit. You guys come here a lot? No.
Oh.
We live nearby, but actually,
We live in the arts district.
But like we were like this is the oldest bar in LA.
One of them, yeah.
Yeah, like supposedly like the oldest or something.
It was open during Prohibition time. Well, it was a piano store up here, and then downstairs they had a speakeasy, a real one. And there's tunnels that go from here all the way to Biltmore.
And across the street.
And across the street, so they could escape and go to those places. And there's old paint. Eventually,
we
they'll
painted
open them
these
up.
down there.
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
And this place was
I'm
like.
not buying what you're selling.
No,
we painted all these downstairs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then
We
you
wanted
have the
we
basement.
wanted to feel it. Yeah.
Well,
you guys, your art was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very. It almost has like a real, it has a cartoon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love the
like has that Asian anime feel to it, with but like a lot of art. They're all
You see how highly we regard the artwork. We just found some.
Right, the process.
Yeah. here's one that didn't make it. You can.
Is that one of yours?
That's one of my beauties.
I like that one.
I think I was a little like 16 Coors Lights into it.
Yeah, well.
Here's a Dave Johnson that was never finished.
That one looks good.
I don't know if you can see that.
I like where that one was going.
I liked where it was going. If Dave chose to finish it, it'd be pretty damn good.
Well, now it's got some real flavor to it.
Actually, it's even better now. Yeah. And then over here are some pizza boxes from guys from Drink and Draw.
Oh yeah.
That's nice. A little bit of craziness there. Oh, there's me.
There you go.
Talking about pizza. Good.
Delicious.
Wonder Woman.
Beautiful.
Pork and meatballs are awesome. What does that even have to do? That's beautiful.
Autumn. Nice work.
Is that? No. It's,
No?
it's not Autumn.
I don't know who that is then.
It's to be framed.
In 50 years from now.
Someone will be going. There'll be another documentary. They
go.
go, and then people used to draw on pizza boxes. It was a big thing.
Yeah, it was a fad.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I'm an artist model, and I've been modeling for 14 years, and that's how I make my living. But I guess I'm an illusionist. I get paid to become. Before I actually started modeling, people would sit at my lunch counter when I was a waitress and draw me. And there was a customer who would come in, and he was a painter, and he asked if he could paint me, and he paid me very little. It was like a light bulb that went off, and I couldn't believe that I hadn't been doing it all these years. And so you kind of get a sense for something, and you realize, you know what, I could be good at this. And that's what I felt. Early on in my modeling career, I realized what the artist wanted. Like, I think the first time I ever posed, my very first pose, I'm like, I want to make myself look good, right? How does my body look sexy when I'm, you know, because initially you think, oh, I need to be fit, I need to look good. And I did that for about 5 minutes, and I realized this is impossible. And I found very quickly that it's not about that. It's about all that extra stuff that's going on. I built my confidence on this whole perception, like, of what is beauty, what is beautiful, you know. And for me, I thank God for this coming into my life, this profession, because it really taught me how to, you know, believe in myself, and to know that I was good enough, you know, and to know that I was beautiful.
Sorry. Marissa Gomez, take one.
So we're here down in the Arts District, downtown Arts District in Los Angeles for live Thursday, what is it called? I'm sorry. Live Music Thursdays. Okay, so start over again?
Yeah, we'll start. Okay. Let me give you a hand camera first. Okay. All right. Take two, Marissa Gomez.
So, my name is Marissa Gomez, and we're here in the Downtown Arts District for Live Music Thursdays over at Angel City Brewery. It's a local brewing company, and they just recently started having live music here, and it's usually just all local artists, homegrown musicians, and this is our first time playing here under this night, under this event. We played here several other times for other different things like dog washing parties, and also I have a friend, Anna Broom, who does a poetry night here, and she also has live musicians, and all the poets are local downtown artists as well.
And I'm going to ask you one more question. Just say your name again, so this is your back in your hand.
Okay.
And ready, guys? Marissa Gomez, take three.
My name is Marissa Gomez, and my band, we're doing a sound check right now. So how did you want me to say that? Just Marissa Gomez and the Ghost of Echo Park, that's it.
You can say you're about to record.
Just say Marissa Gomez and the Ghost of Echo Park.
You can say Marissa Gomez, you guys watch my band.
Okay.
Okay, one last time. Marissa Gomez, take one.
My name is Marissa Gomez, and you're about to hear my band, the Ghost of Echo Park. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Okay, well, Maritza has a band, but I think the Gallery Girls in general, one of the things that a lot of artists don't get opportunities after they leave college, and they leave that kind of group aspect. And downtown has always been a great group of people. They're all good friends. They're all interconnected in one way or another. Even if they do very, different things, they always know, oh, if I ever need that done, I can always call that. They're part of a community that has really tried to bring all the artists into it, and not the Hollywood style where, oh yeah, we'll trade cards, oh yeah, I'll call you, kind of stuff. This is real working people that really work on things and really like to get things done. It's a good energy to the crowd, and that's what I think the ladies bring that some of the other places, you know, around here, some of the galleries, some of the restaurants, they bring this great energy to a city that 20 years ago you wouldn't walk down this street at all. You wouldn't park your shit car down the street.
Not unless you got your battery.
Yeah, your battery, window's broken, you want to be robbed, you know, come down here. 20 years has changed this community and changed the types of people that really make our community really, really strong. You know, we have a tight group of friends. Like I said, all lost toys, all misfits, we came down here to get away from all the crap, and we ended up becoming this big band of people that
We invented our own world.
Yeah. Oh hell yeah.
But
Absolutely.
As far as they are modern day muses. If you take that word museum, they inspire art.
They inspire more. Yeah.
Inspire people to feel. The artist's job is to articulate emotion. Most people feel something. They don't have the language to sculpt it out or to write it out or write a poem or something. These women draw that out. It's contagious, isn't it?
It is.
It's
It
really
is.
not.
It's so fun to watch. It's
Marissa,
really interesting to see.
Sean, people like this, they're the reason I left home. I ran away. I instinctually
Join the circus.
Join the circus. Yeah, you know, we were like the lost puppies that out of the wandered off into the night. And
First
we
off
all
the
kinda
turnip
ended
truck,
up
not
here.
the last, the first.
But it was a great group of people, all meeting at the same time, with sort of a psychotronic situations where many people have the same illusion at the same time, and we all had this sort of unspoken goal. And the cool thing was, there was this feeling that we were really happy. Sean and I and many others kind of fell under a spell that if you took it all apart, it wouldn't work. If you put it together, it worked in ways that were sort of beyond what we even dreamed of.
I don't know. We didn't start out to make. I don't know. We didn't start out to make anything like this, but it was a lot of people that didn't know what rules were. So you have all these different types of people that they don't know what the rule is. So you make up your own. You make your own map. You make your own everything. And Maritza, Jennifer Favos, along with many of the gallery girls, and where Larva, where they expanded from there into their own realms is really interesting to me to see this really tight group of women that kind of popped out into all their own little nests.
Yeah.
You know, and
these people would come to Bedlam, and they all of a sudden they found a safe haven, and people became emotionally invested. Gee, we can create here. So people, what happened was, and Sean can tell you, we'd have somebody come and go, gee, do you guys need a lighting system?
Sure. We'll take that lighting system.
And pretty soon, because everybody got emotionally invested. This was our clubhouse. We ended up with lighting systems, sound systems.
You're not meeting really interesting people.
So when the girls
from all over the
came,
world, just
when the
ladies.
girls came and experienced Bedlam, they found a home.
Were you part of Bedlam before that you met the girls, or?
Oh, yeah.
So what was
Jim
your role?
adopted me about '94.
In '94. Can you tell me a little bit about how your inception into Bedlam, what that was?
Well, I got sort of shanghaied into it, and then
Because put a bag over his head.
Yeah, they asked me to help install, and he told me it was drywall, and it happened to be concrete.
We were doing an art show, which was impossible.
Yeah.
And we started capturing, easy marks, I guess, around that.
But that was the Bedlam style, it was...
Everyone donated, everyone gave too, because you knew that it was, I don't know, kind of for a better deal. Bedlam for me, I started with my friend Jim Capaldi in 1994, and we started a gallery in a loft because we didn't want to have to take our artwork to an actual gallery. Why would I try and impress this guy when I can just go throw a show and invite a bunch of people and, do my own deal? And it turned into kind of the Gertrude Stein Salon Society, where we had every type of artist all the way through the gamut, we're all meeting, and we're all young, energetic, not on top of the world yet, but you know, it wasn't far off. And a lot of these people have done absolutely amazing things.
They're
Rich,
big
famous, they're the best of the best.
They all come back. But we
And
had
the artists and
strict dress code.
and we had a strict dress code.
Tie.
We wanted people to dress up.
And the
We
women.
didn't want, you know, hippies, no offense to hippies, but we wanted people in suits and ties. We wanted the girls in cocktail dresses.
It was a salon.
It was a
The
salon.
music
It was a place
was
for
not-
adults to congeal, not
It
for
was
kids.
Not interrupting the music. And the whole thing was, we can sum up by saying it was more about a sophisticated adulthood than a protracted adolescence. You could literally go in there and play chess, like Richard Edson would go over. Some people would come. Some people came for the girls.
Some people would
came.
be kids too. I mean, you know, you had 40, 50-year-old kids that would, you know, come and run into walls and
You could play
do
chess.
silly things. But
You could shoot pool. You could play 3 different types of
you know, all kinds of little
pool,
spots set up. It was like a big bar, restaurant, gallery.
And things go
But
around.
the idea was that the people that showed up, at least the people that we invited, you could bring a friend, not a guest. Don't bring someone you don't know. Don't bring a first date. We want to know friends. You know, always made people responsible for their actions. And as a sort of a legal type of joint,
It's made it
you
even
couldn't
better.
call cops.
Yeah.
You know, you had to deal with everything yourself.
Yeah, but the gallery girls came by, they got sucked into that vortex, and they just stuck.
Oh,
They
we had,
slam
like I
on
said,
the
we had known
sidewalk.
Jennifer for a long time, and when that started coming together, we're like, well, we have a space, and that was always the answer to everything. Yes, absolutely. What do you want to do? You know, you just let us know. We'll make it happen. And the girls really went off by at the end of 2.5 years, some of the sets were just tremendous. And the costumes were amazing.
Yeah,
And
they
it was
did
so fun and well set up.
Cowgirl night where they bring in bales of hay
Yeah.
and made a little fence and things, and then they brought their pets from Mom and Jennifer,
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
rabbit,
rabbit,
and
yeah.
chickens and stuff. And remember the one heavy model comes up to the bar with a chicken, and I pour him a little drink.
You can't trade a drink for a chicken. No.
But yeah, the girls drank for free.
Yeah.
What happened to Bedlam?
A lot of buildings in the area. What happened to Bedlam? A lot of buildings in the area went up in price, and it brought our value of our building up to a point where the business partner decided he wanted to kind of bail out, and it was hard to come up with an extra $2.5 million. So we lost the building. I just actually got back from Florida with Jim Fittipaldi. He was my business partner back then. We're talking about the next one. The next one's probably going to be in New Orleans. Yeah. Oh yeah.
It'd be nice, you'll love it there.
I haven't told you that yet.
I'm staying in LA.
Oh, that's all right. You can fly out.
Okay, that'd be
Did you know Sarah Streeter?
Sarah Streeter.
She was one of the early gallery girls.
Uh,
She made
Oh!
yeah,
She
little
was
Sarah.
the really pretty one that went to New York.
She's very ballet-like.
Ugh.
Oh, and
Oh. I should have brought my pictures. She had the best, most beautiful breasts ever. Perfect. She looked like she was from like 1890. Well, the other girls kind of like contemporary and they'd have tattoos and stuff. She would just.
Well, I agree. They were great.
I know who she was. I remember her well.
Yes, absolutely.
And they were all characters, and that was the odd thing is you sort of, if you came from a middle class, background and things, that wasn't my normal thing. But you find yourself sort of talking to these girls, and you get kind of sucked into their eyes, and the rest of it sort of like goes away, and you realize you can almost feel yourself maturing and becoming urbanized and blasé. Because in the end, I mean, when I first got there.
Yeah.
John's like, yeah. Hang on, too much, you won't even notice it. And he was right. But they were such sweet girls, and a lot of them had some rough stories. So they had kind of made a coven and watched out for each other. At the end of the night, Sean, am I right? They would take all their money upstairs and put it in a pile.
Divvy it out, yeah.
And bless it.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, that's right. Bless it. That's right. Make more.
That's right. And
Grow, my pretties.
Joe Provenzano touched it, and they didn't have it.
Maybe the New York model was Cassandra and not Sarah
I
Streeter.
remember Cassandra, yeah.
Oh,
Cassandra.
I still can see Cassandra in 3D, in high def. And she was just lovely. She was just really.
Awesome.
With Sarah and
Any more?
Nope, that's
Is
it.
that it?
Yeah, I think we're cutting.
Larva.
Larva,
Right
yeah,
on.
larva, I bet larva.
You met her?
Larva is awesome.
That's
Larva is
nice.
always a kick in the pants.
No.
She was a really funny lady.
Do you have pictures and stuff from these guys?
I got some beautiful gallery.
Oh, maybe you guys can.
SAVVY.
And you're okay being filmed for this documentary?
Of course, I'm sitting here. Yeah, I approached the Gallery Girls before they were even called the Gallery Girls. It was just some art models of friends of ours and my girlfriend at the time who were posing, and they were doing these Tuesday night workshops. And I went there, and I thought it looked great, and it was beautiful, and there were a lot of like inspirational work being produced there. I just felt like the music was sort of like missing the mark a little bit. I program music for their events. I put together playlists that help sort of flesh out the visuals that they're presenting with their poses and the adornments of the sort of tableaus they've set up and things like that. I've always sort of seen my job as filling in the blanks that are missing visually. So like if we're doing a pose that's supposed to be taking place in India and we're in a warehouse somewhere, obviously we don't have the Taj Mahal behind us to sort of like immerse the artists in the experience. In general, I wanted to sort of expand people's consciousness and expand their awareness and their taste and their ability to relate to music. Sometimes I feel like I succeed, and other times, I mean, since we got started, it's always been an experiment. These events, these salons have always been an experiment. So likewise, I take that approach to my work with it. There's sometimes we'll decide on a theme that has no musical corollary, and so I have to make one up. And in that way, it's like a huge experiment. So, one that I can recall immediately was an event we did at this warehouse space, but we did on the roof in downtown LA. And so we were outside, and it was in the summer, and the theme that they had decided on was Medusa. And I'm a big fan of Medusa, like the Gorgon legend and everything. And I was thinking like, okay, I could play classical Greek music or something like that, but I think that would be incredibly dry. So what I ended up opting for as an experiment was to play long form. This was like about a 4-hour set, I think, of long form, dark ambient experimental noise, basically. And it wasn't those times when I've been able to let go, completely surrender to something and still function, is when I feel like the Muse energy is like in me and I'm embodying it. It's working through me and I'm just an instrument. And that's when it's like completely pure and the best. That's when I feel like I'm tapping into something that is source. I often see the Muse to me is also like an energy that propels you to go beyond yourself. It's something that you can call upon, or that just calls you to push yourself beyond what you thought you were capable of doing in creative work or in ability. I think, if I were to try to quantify it over time, overall it's been a success because I've done something that I felt was compelling, the models felt were compelling.
To be honest, I don't really have like a specific goal in mind as to where I want to be in 20 years. I just want to share what I do. And so I don't actually know what that looks like. If it's comic books, if it's fine art, if it's writing, I don't know. But it's honestly just kind of like doing what I do and sharing that with the world and making enough money to pay rent. Beyond that, I mean, everything else is just awesome. It's interesting being a woman in a mostly male-dominated industry. It's a boys' club, but also it kind of gives me free reign because no one really puts up any protests. They're like, okay, just go do that. They kind of let me do whatever I want. A lot of notes that I get from men as a woman and as a woman doing comic books is that my art's very feminine, which I find interesting because I've never really thought of my art as feminine, but that also puts me at an advantage because obviously men don't do feminine art. Art, whether it be music or writing or fine art, we are perceiving of things that are going to be happening way in the future, and we can transform the way that people think. And I think that's hands down the most important thing that an artist can do. I think it just kind of goes back to, it's like we are creators. Human beings create, you know, like we're biologically set up to create and our minds are constantly creating. And I think the value of art is that you basically take something that doesn't exist and you make it exist. Whether it be on a piece of paper or a sculpture, it's an idea and it's a thought, and all of a sudden you made something out of nothing.
We're here at the One-Eyed Gypsy doing our Peeping Toms drawing event. It's in a bar, obviously. The noise. Tonight's a special night. We have 3 models instead of 2. A little bonus for everybody. It's also a free event. The bar pays for it to get people to come. But then we ask for tips, so it's a little bonus for us. Tonight is Boogie Nights. We have a Dirk Diggler, a Roller Girl, and the Julie Moore character. I forget her name. Anyway, should be fun.
All right, let's do one more take where you say it all to me.
All right.
Oh, wait, hold on. That was great, though. That was fantastic. Good energy, the whole thing was great. All right, let's keep rolling. All right.
So, we're here at the One-Eyed Gypsy. It's a bar. We're doing our fun drawing night called Peeping Toms. We have 3 models tonight, so it's a little bit special. We normally only have 2. It's fun. They can drink and eat and draw, and it's fun.
And who are you guys in the movie?
We're doing Boogie Nights. We have Keith Clandrewd as Dirk Diggler. I'm playing Roller Girl. We have Taryn playing the Julie Moore character.
And I see that it's a completely full house.
Oh yeah, nice packed night.
And do people pay to get in, or is it tips?
Oh, this is free. The bar pays for it. It's just nice. And we do offer tips, so if they like what they're seeing and they want this to continue, they can tip whatever they like.
And last question, how do people find out about it?
Well, I only advertise to my own artists, and there's also a Facebook that I have, as well as a figure drawing meetup group that I posted on, but that's pretty much it, or word of mouth.
Is this a usual kind of turnout, or?
Yeah, this is pretty rocking. A small night might be 35 people. This is probably closer to 55.
Awesome, thank you. Okay.
Go ahead. Ready? Hello.
Hey, Dan. Can you tell us about this event tonight?
Try to look at her forehead, it looks tired.
Tonight is obviously 70s themed, so It's kind of a good one. Jennifer, she always does a great job with the costumes, and now I've never seen the male model before, but he's got it down, and Taryn is being terrible up there, so, I mean, in a good way. Just having a lot of fun. It's a good night, and it's a huge turnout. It's awesome, so it's fun.
I noticed there's people get here early to grab a seat.
Yeah, people are jockeying always at these events to get proper seats. So people get here either super early and then they either get pissed because they didn't get here early enough. And tonight, you never know what these events are going to be like. So sometimes there's a ton of people, sometimes not. Now it's like standing room only. And, it's unfortunate, but there's only so much room.
How do you like the theme tonight?
The theme is perfect. And American Hustle is, up for an award, so it's the same. It's perfect. I mean, they did a great job. And I can't believe that Jennifer always manages to get the costumes so perfect. So.
Let's ask that question again. Say that's Boogie Nights.
What?
Let's ask that question again and say that's Boogie Nights.
Oh, tonight is Boogie Nights. So. Jennifer nailed it as per usual, and you can tell they're having fun, so I think it's kind of contagious. Everybody else is having fun. I was looking around. My favorite part is drawing, obviously. Another favorite part is walking around and seeing everybody's artwork and seeing their takes on it. It's every type of different artwork here. I mean, you have some very classical illustrators that were trained, and other people that are just working primarily with ink, and it's very representational. So it's interesting. It's different. Good night. Yeah. Cheers.
Well done. By the way, what you're doing is so excited. I'm so excited.
I can't possibly be shown this way. I'm amazing.
So you're here tonight. Oh, there we go.
Oh, they'll come off.
Okay, good.
I love it. Very good. Awesome. Alright. So first, how do you say your name?
Sure. Okay.
Just so we get it. Green Toms.
Hi, I'm Taryn Piana.
I am Keith Flandry.
And the rest will do to me.
Okay. Can you guys stand a little closer together? Sure. Yeah.
Anyway, Jen just have almost both.
So tell us a little bit about the event tonight.
So tonight we're Boogie Nights theme. So it's based on kind of like 70s free-spirited pool party and porn.
Sex, drugs, and disco?
Yeah. Sexual freedom and porn, disco balls, that whole thing, roller skates, yeah. So, fun, yeah, it's fun.
He is Dirk Diggler.
Yeah.
I think I'm just a random flag.
No, she's Amber Waves.
I'm Amber Waves. I'm sorry. I thought it was.
Yeah.
So I saw you guys are doing 25-minute poses right now.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how hard it is to hold a 25-minute pose?
Well, when you do an 8 ball of cocaine before you get up there, it's just the best.
It's hard. I mean, some poses are easier than others, but it's always difficult. 5-minute poses are pretty easy, but 25 minutes, it requires a lot of self-discipline, a lot of strength, a lot of focus. So you try to make it look easy and not break a sweat and not fidget or anything, but it's a very difficult, challenging thing to do, you know? So for me,
Yeah, I mean, when they're that long, you don't have as much freedom. Like if you have a 5-minute pose, you have a little more.
Yeah,
you can fool around. But let's say I stick something in my mouth for 25 minutes, I just end up drooling all over myself, and it loses its. A lot of it loses its sexiness. It loses its class. Where you're covered in spit. I'm just.
going anywhere.
For days.
Yeah, but the short poses you can get really dynamic and like breathe a lot of action into it. But the long poses, you've got to really be smart with how you work it. You've got to think about composition and at the same time think about what your body can do and still tell the story. So
Do you guys have like an inner monologue in your head while you're up there?
sometimes.
Especially when you're alone. I mean, when we're together, it's kind of terrible.
A lot of voices. There's a lot of voices speaking. Different ones every night. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah. Well, every theme you kind of get character, but I have an ADD mind, so that lasts about 5 minutes. And I start writing stand-up comedy. Thinking about what outfits. Yeah, what I need to buy.
Have you guys art modeled this adventure before?
Her and I haven't
Not together,
but I've modeled here before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this one different than other events?
Yeah.
Busy.
Yeah. This one, like last one I did here, we did a Mad Men theme, and I was what's his name, Don Draper. So we did Don and Megan. That was fun. That was a lot of fun. You know, we had the like 50s, 60s music going, so it was totally different but fun. But this one, yeah, it's been more fun tonight.
It's like it's a full house, like it's back to the built.
I mean, we're teaching people, but it's a newer event.
Yeah.
This is like even less than a year, I think.
Less than a year old.
So now it's like growing. This is the fun one. There's a bar, and it's downtown. It's about young people.
How long you guys art model for?
Oh, I've modeled for 14 years. First commercially, and then I started art modeling when I was in art school. So, and that's been over 10 years. So for a while, all over. Yeah.
I do everything, but I've only been doing this for 3 years.
Yeah. She's also a makeup artist.
I do makeup and comedy and whatever I want.
Yeah. We do whatever we want. That's the beauty. We come and we just do it. That's the beauty.
You get to get naked and dressed up.
Right.
It's like a win-win.
Right. You can't lose.
Girls, I mean a girl and a queer man's dream, really. We love it.
Besides that, what do you enjoy the most about art modeling?
I think for me, there's a performance art aspect to it. You're collaborating, you're participating in the creative process, and it's raw. You don't have to go through some system to do it. You don't have to like pay for some class to whatever. You just come and you show up and you create something, and you collaborate with whatever's going on, whether it's in the studio for like an animation piece or an anatomy class or an event. There's always something new. It's just fun. There's a lot of good energy that comes into it, and it's a creative thing versus like a destructive thing, which there's so much of that in the world. It's nice to be part of like a raw creative culture. That's what I enjoy about it. So.
That was so nice. I agree with many of those things. I think I like being close to it's kind of like my part-time job too, so I like being able to do something that's art related. Still, it's not like working at a grocery store or coffee shop. They're also fun jobs I've had. But it's fun, and let's face it, I think as a model of any sort, you're a little vain, and it's kind of cool to see somebody paint a picture of you, and maybe either make you look even prettier, or just as pretty. Sometimes they do embellish. Like big titties.
We're open to interpretation.
And for my last question, do you guys go around and look at the art that's being done of you guys?
Always.
I try to see as much of it as possible, but this setup's a little hard to get to, and breaks are short. But try to see as much as you can. Take little pictures of the phone.
Yeah. If I know there's some good art being made, I definitely take a look at it.
You guys are so great. Thank you.
Thank you.
What was your name? Elena.
Elena, nice to meet you. Yeah.
I see clothing is coming off up there.
Sorry, do you mind if I stand in front of you?
It's recording?
Yeah.
Nice, yeah. Ready? See? Okay. Hey, Tom. Hi, how are you? Could you just tell us your name to the camera?
Hi, my name is Reddy. Yes.
Perfect. And the rest of it can just be to me. So, tell me, is this your first night here?
Yes, this is my first time to come here. I'm so excited to see a lot of artists, real artists here. Yes.
How long have you been an artist? How long have you been drawing?
I'm not very good at drawing. I was drawing when I was young, but I didn't draw that all. No. Yeah. I'm not an artist here, but I'm really excited.
What do you love about it? What do you love about tonight?
I learned that with art is not very academic, that you can only do at the literal. You can join like a social event that you can share your experience of drawing with other artists here, and you can observe and you can learn something new from the model, from the artist, from everyone here.
How do you like the theme tonight? The Roller Girl theme, the Boogie Nights theme.
I haven't seen this theme very often around my daily life, so I'm so excited to see that.
How did you find out about tonight?
My friend Penny took me here. She's an artist here. She's an artist from Los Angeles, and now she's my housemate. And accidentally, I'm here.
Do you think you'll come again?
Sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much. So sweet. Thank you so much.
I got into art modeling when I was about 19. My roommate at the time, who was my best friend, was actually going to Art Center, and he had mentioned that they used art models, and I'd already spent a lot of time hanging out on a nude beach in Palos Verdes, so I got very comfortable being naked. I thought art modeling seemed like the perfect combination because, you know, I didn't have a problem doing it and I could get paid for it, so that's how I got into it. I loved the environment. I loved being part of a creative process. I loved just seeing so many representations of myself, you know, on the breaks, going around looking at the work. It feels very organic and natural to me to be part of all that. So. The exchange that happens between the artist and the model, you know, and I see this from both sides because being the photographer and also being the model for artists is really important. You know, you can't underestimate that. That energy that gets created is the magic in the work. There's always that unexpected moment that surprises you and gets created because of that exchange going on between the artist and the model. I think that each brings out the best in the other. When you're photographing somebody, to get a really great photograph in a certain circumstance, you almost have to fall in love a little bit, you know? And maybe the model has to fall in love a little bit too in order to give you that raw, real moment. And I think that is a MUSE moment. With Hollywood being such the focus in Los Angeles, we haven't really been taken that seriously in terms of fine art. I think that's changing. I think that Los Angeles is actually being understood as a truly formidable city for fine art. And the community that's been created through what we do has had a role to play in that. When it comes to artists having a local watering hole to kind of coalesce and network and that sort of thing, we've provided a bit of that. And I think that's been an important role for Los Angeles as a truly international art city.
So this particular event started because the economy started going sour, and I wanted to put something together that would be cost efficient yet still get a good amount of time for the artist to be able to paint. And I do it pretty cost efficient, 4 hours, no break. I feed everybody, but it's like a light brunch kind of thing, so it's not like major food, little food, light food. So it keeps the cost down, and get great models, and with the long pose, I would tend to do a theme, kind of like the late night things, where this one I wanted to do something that was more of a classical feel with the nude model, but I didn't want just the boring nude model sitting in a chair. So I kind of encouraged the models to bring a little bit of themselves to it, whether it be like the one today, Ariel, is involved in a local circus, and so she's got fun things, and so this is all part of stuff that she does. I have one model who's got a very 20s look, so we did kind of a little 20s thing with like stockings and heels, but still nude, to get that classical nude feel to it as well. The men, when I bring men in, they're a little manly, so maybe a sword or something like they're getting ready for battle or whatever it is, so it's got some sort of purpose. It was fun.
There's so many wonderful artists in this city. You think that people think that you have to go to New York to be an artist, and you actually don't. Our job is to be a muse by trade. There's something different. You can just sit up here and think about your day and think about what you're going to feed your cat when you go home, or you can sit up here and engage with the artists. And those are the artists that I always end up having the best relationships with, the ones where there is a free flow of creativity. It's not just, oh, you're a figure that they're drawing for practice. There's something that you're giving them and that they're giving you, and there's an exchange. And when that happens, that's when the most beautiful projects happen in art, in film, in stage, in whatever medium you're working at. So I think we all have the power to be a muse. We just have to tap into that. And this is such a beautiful medium to get to tap into it and come to.
With an ability to change attitude or mood and convey it without words. The quality of a good model would be perhaps to be able to shift from flirtatious to coy to maybe even past or indifferent. Sometimes you can have a very beautiful model with very low energy, and that might be just a day, or who knows. But then there's the one or two that just stand out because they can suddenly project something, and when it happens, it's really influential. You can really feel something happening. You want to get it down on the canvas. They play off of each other. You use them to project something that you want and hopefully be able to convey it back on the canvas. There's something that it does, you might call it reverie. There are moments when it's at its best, when you're connecting with it, whether you're just observing or maybe actually able to render it, that it's transcendental. You can almost lose yourself in it. In fact, a lot of people have talked about that and what have you, but there's something very satisfying about overcoming the challenge, the difficulty. Sometimes you're just not getting it, and suddenly something happens. And this is, I guess, in the application of it. That is vavoom. You get lost in it.
How my arms? Should it be down? Or
Well, on this.
Whatever's comfortable.
Okay, because I'm better like this.
Yeah.
I'm from Roswell, New Mexico. I was born in a building that is now a planetarium. So the modeling I do is not the typical type of modeling that you may think about when you hear model. Normally, when people hear model, they think of fashion modeling, and you hear these stories about girls being very concerned about the way that they look. I'm fortunate enough to be in a community that accepts all shapes and sizes because it's art. You can be voluptuous, you can be thin, tall, short, anything in between. At the same time, it's still very physical. It's definitely a labor of love because most of the time I'm in pain. It's hard to explain to people. I've had to really take the time to express the pain that I'm going through to people like my husband. You know, it's like, I'm sorry, I can't do that right now because I literally can't stand up. Like, I've been on the model stand for 8 hours, so the pain's real. You learn to work with it, but it's hard sometimes. It's like, I'd rather be in pain inspiring people than be in pain behind a computer in a cubicle. So you just have to be realistic and honest with yourself about what it means to work and what it means to have a good life while working. So I would say Jared Gold's the one reason why I even am where I am, because he found me when I was about 15 and thought I looked like Kate Bush and said, you know, who are you? And so I sort of followed him, and he used me as a fashion model. So that's how I ended up in LA. People started calling me his muse. We never had that kind of relationship. We were friends that worked together, and he was my mentor as far as art and design goes. But it wasn't until we moved to LA that people really started seeing the relationship as muse artist. So we were sort of corralled into that. I definitely thought it was a bit narcissistic to call myself that, but once we saw that the community sort of wanted us to be that, we just accepted it and sort of use it now. But to us, it's like we're just friends that appreciate each other and use each other for creating art. I think art and music and writing, it's about that escape, or the ability to express yourself emotionally. And when I model, I become the fantasy. And so it's just that. You're living in that little moment, but it's safe because you don't have to stay there. So you get to do things that you wouldn't normally do. When I'm modeling, I meditate, I count, I write stories in my mind, I do mantras, pretty much anything to keep involved, but also that degree of separation, because you want to maintain whatever emotion you're trying to convey. So when you're creating art and there's a flow, that's the most sacred moment there is. It's creation. It's just like having a baby. I can't express enough how sacred it is, or how spiritual it can get. There's moments of pure bliss. You can't define it. You can't cage it. You can't make it into a manual. There's nothing that will get you there except being creative. And so to be a part of that, to be in that moment with someone, it's medicine, it's healing, you know, it's very special. It's that language of what we can't define, and what we're always trying to get to is that moment when our spirit is just present beyond the physical form.